G'day guys, I'm back and we're back with my favorite troubleshooting troubleshooting at the moment, which is Azure Functions. Really good update. So previously we were having huge issues with Azure Functions with debugging. I found a couple of little interesting workarounds this morning. This morning, just before I started the stream. I was a little bit late because I kind of wanted to just sit down and nut it out. And yeah, I found some very interesting things in how Azure Functions works. So the first thing which I found very interesting is there are some things that Azure Function, the debugger doesn't actually debug that well. So if I try and debug so if I just do this, so you know the old traditional, this is the standard template. So just chuck a wait debugger on that. Excuse me. Well, and then we'll fire this bad boy up. Oh no. Oh, whoops. No. I'm running it in the wrong workspace. Give me 2 secs. Run this in the right workspace. Here we go. So if I run the Azure function here, and we just basically hook onto the default function. So I'm just going to trigger the default one, which is just the HTTP trigger. I'll just fire up a new one here. Like so. It will go back to the integrated console, reload it. We then hook in. Now, what's really interesting is that we basically we hooked in just using there was nothing really there wasn't really anything there for it to do. It's just generally, first line using just standard using namespace, and then the parameter block. What I found very interesting was my code. I'm just going to exit this. My code actually had issues with it trying to hook in. So I'll just show you an example. So this is a really good example. I had a whole bunch of code above the parameter block in terms of just general comments, which is not an issue for the function itself. The function basically recognizes it's just commenting. But what I found here, sorry, I'm actually in the wrong spot. There we go. Sorry. What I found, if there was code above it, it basically wouldn't. What's the word? It just wouldn't, it would run, like you could actually run it without a debugger and it'd be fine, but the moment you hook a debugger into it, then basically it would just stop working, and it would never actually connect into the namespace, and then obviously give you the nice debugging tools. So I had a bit more of a play around, and then that was one of the issues I found. The second issue I found was with request job. I just couldn't work out why it was timing out, and then I realized I actually do think there's a legitimate issue there with anything to do with connecting to the Azure module. So I stuck a wait debugger here and it would work, but if I stuck a wait debugger here, it would just hang and then crash. And so I had a bit of a look around and actually just stepped through this. Initially I tried to step over, and that basically caused it to hang, which led me to believe there was something inside there causing the debugger to hang. But then stepping into it, there was an issue there with it was at a for each object. It just basically hung. So I think that there is this issue there with the debugging, but at the same time, though, I'm thinking that it will probably be yeah, I think that's going to definitely get fixed by the functions guys. I'm gonna probably do a bit more digging in it because I do think that. Oh, g'day, Glenn. How you going, mate? I do think that with the function itself, there is, it's my issue. Like I think I did cause issues with, um, I think it did cause issues with having code above it. But at the same time, though, this is a learning experience and it is in preview, so I can't expect a GA level of, GA level of features and support, and I've got to kind of take it with the punches. But on to good news. I did spend I am a little bit late today, but that's because I did spend a bit of time smashing this out. So we're going to basically keep continuing with that. I kind of have a bit of an idea with how I'm going to rewrite or how I'm going to upgrade test object property. I'm kind of wanting to get your opinion, Glenn, on it, because at the end of the day, though, I think this is probably the better way to do it in terms of for its uniqueness. My biggest concern is that I don't want to particularly just deploy this and have to deal with, another dictionary type, because I know there's two types of dictionary classes, and my concern is that I could add both of them, but yeah. Oh, is it a little bit low? Okay, yeah, it's a little low. Hang on, let me turn myself up. Yeah, volume even. Okay, what about now? Is that better? Is that better? I like to have my mic up a bit. I'm generally like to be a bit quiet, but is that better? Yep, cool. All right, so I'm thinking what I'm going to do is we're going to focus on that today. I've also I think I'm going to do a bit more stuff offline with the function, but the main part is, and I'll quickly demo it. If I just do a quick request job, 10-sec delay for me. Okay, that's all right. That's not too bad. I think what I'm going to do, just to kind of, okay, I got to demo this first. It just makes me happy. I've got it working, and I also fixed my bugs. So the issue that I was having last week with HTTP receive job was, old mate here, I didn't actually use the switch invoke read. So in my function, if I actually want to perform a read on an SQL, because it invokes the SQL reader, so where is it? Here. So if it basically I actually explicitly say I want to read, then it will read. That's just because me being pedantic, and I can like invoke a reader and do things there, but I'm kind of I probably should fix that up, but that's future Michael's problem for the time being. But I think basically, yeah, I didn't specify that switch, therefore didn't specify a switch. Query executed perfectly. It actually technically did return rows, but because I didn't actually create the reader, nothing got read. So fix that. That's really great. Now let's go run it. So back to debug land. Actually, okay, before I do that, I'm going to show you this because this is quite interesting. I'm going to drop a wait debugger here and you're going to see what I mean. So it's this specific get Azure Vault secret, which is actually causing issues. No, my luck, it's actually not going to do it now, but we'll hopefully see it. So if I, where's my IC? Where's my IC? Here it is. So just drag this over. So do that, hit up. That will hook in. Yep. Now I can reload. You can see it actually executes. It's completely fine. But now if I try and step over, completely hangs. The entire debug process hangs, and that's the issue that that's the reason why I was having so many issues last time, was because I couldn't work out this has only happened to me once when I was debugging in the ISC, and usually you just close and reopen the ISC. Yeah, it is super weird. That's the thing that I think I'm like, after this I'm going to raise a GitHub issue, because I do think that that's like it's a weird one, like and I'll actually, if and this is something I'm going to have to crash the whole thing. Like I'm actually going to have to can this whole oh, it returned completed. There you go. Check this out, and then it comes back completed. But obviously, there's a problem with my output. But yeah, anyway. So what we can do here is, you need to PowerShell to be like, yes, yes, yes. What I'm gonna do, I'll show you this. Okay, this is going to kind of, actually, oh, I don't think I'm gonna have enough time. Leave it with me. We'll come back to it. But you can see there's a clear issue with that specific line. And I don't know why. Like, but the thing is, like, if you run it without it, it's completely fine. So I think the way the debugger is handling it, there's an intermittent issue. But at the end of the day, though, I'll raise a GitHub request or a GitHub issue, and that can get investigated. So, yeah. But anyway. Fun times. But the main thing is that it's querying it. With the exception of this, I'm actually going to get Christian to fix this. But yeah, we've got a status success. It's a little bit bad. It's a little bit rusty. I'm going to have to clean that up a bit. But the main thing is that it's working. So, it could be the PS editor service issue or the PS editor, but agreed for later. Yeah, exactly. Like I could literally spend this entire session trying to do that, and then I'm not getting anything done. And I'm kind of like, I want to get something done. Glenn, are you going to the NDC conference? I was just actually interested. That's the one that's happening in Sydney. Yeah. It's like a 2-day workshop thing, and then yeah, put in for the CFP. Okay. Sorry, what's CFP? Ah, okay. All right. Because I did put a talk in. Sorry, I'm just eating some chocolate. Call for papers. Ah, okay. Because I put a talk in today. I'm gonna go to NDC. I want a golden ticket. So at Ignite. But one of the things that I'm planning, I'm actually really want to do is, yeah. One of the things I'm planning to do is actually go to the PubConf. I've put a couple of talks in there because I actually kind of want to give a couple of talks. One of them is my REST one, and I'm also wanting to do a talk on my Battlefield 4 pixel aimbot, which is a bit old. Like I haven't presented it for a while, but I'm kind of wanting to actually like, I don't know. I hope they accept it. I don't know what's their criteria, but I just threw it up there and see what happened. Like I think submissions close tomorrow, so yeah, see what happens. But I'm actually quite keen to go because there's a lot of stuff there that's actually of interest, especially in the DevOps space. So anyway, we can actually now step out of PowerShell land. I'm going to take off my PowerShell hat and I'm going to put my C# hat on. Pubconf.io. Okay. Where's that at? Where's the PubConf? Let's suss this out. Oh, it's the after party. Okay. Ah. Is that like... I was actually contemplating. Maybe that should be my motivation. I'm gonna fork PS Crohn's and turn it into a drinking game. So everyone has to like play PS Crohn's. It'll be like a massive multiplayer kind of thing. And yeah, lightning talks in a pub knockout style. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool, actually. Yeah. Sorry. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump into C# layer now. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. Oh, okay. 120. Alrighty, so I think the first thing we need to do, so I'm kind of just nutting over the logic for my C# service And I'm thinking what I'm going to do here is it's just going to be timers, asynchronous trigger. So it's just an event that triggers on after 5 minutes, which is fine. That's asynchronous. Suggest you to submit to DevOps Days Sydney. It's a few days before. Okay. I'm gonna quickly put that on my to-do list. I'm also going to check out that book. I've got to at the end of the day, I think I'm going to flick it over to like I've just from what I've seen, it's pretty decent. So I'll just probably flick it over to Christian. Yeah, it's always good to have a read though. Anyway, back to C#. Yes. So my initial idea here is so I've just created just a bit of a preview so I don't have to kind of hunt around. On start, on stop. So I've got a timer registered. I'm just going to use garbage collection to keep it alive so it doesn't pick it up. Trigger timed event basically goes to calls a rest. Now this is C#, so technically it's 4.6, .NET 4.6, so I can actually get away with not have to worry about it. The biggest problem I'm going to have to worry about is actually executing the PowerShell. So I've kind of tossing it up. Do I execute in 4.6? Oh, sorry, do I execute in PowerShell 5 or do I execute in .NET Core? Preferably would be better in .NET Core, but yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm just kind of trying to think about, can .NET 4.6 run Core? Because at the end of the day, though, the only way it's going to really be able to run Core is you'd have to create an instance, a .NET Core instance in PowerShell. I don't even think that's possible because it's relying on .NET Core. It's going to have to be PowerShell 5.1. Because I can't, I'm just thinking out loud, like I can't load the assemblies, unlike any service runs in .NET 4.6, can't directly load the assemblies from 4.6. And how is the question is how is .NET Core doing it? Well, .NET Core is running it off an Azure Functions, so realistically it's just a web server, so it doesn't really matter. But a C# service, however, that's actually like we can't. Yeah, you just can't call .NET. Like you just can't load a .NET library, .NET Core library. It's going to have to be 5.1. I'm thinking it's going to have to be 5.1. Not the end of the world, but at the end of the day, though, it's a pain because you kind of do want to put .NET Core on there and run it on .NET Core, but I think that the short, like if I wanted to do it, I'd probably have to run like execute .NET Core, like PowerShell.exe, and then run the PowerShell as an encoded base64, and then basically capture the output, which is another option, but that's going to require a bit of finicky playing around, especially with trying to deal with it. So I'm thinking what you would have to do there would be is I would need to wrap it. 2 functions, one in full, one in core, put an event queue in there. I could. I'm kind of like, for the sake of simplicity though, I'm kind of like, I either want to choose one or the other, but I don't want to particularly like, because at the end of the day though, I'm kind of like, I want to get this project finished, and basically not shipped, but fully featured, so then I can kind of go to, we can demo the entire process and get Christian to kind of get an understanding. I could put .NET Core, like at the end of the day though, the only thing that would need to be upgraded would be the process, and you need to dictate what PS version it would be on the client side. So if you go new remote job, you would just have type, whether that would be PS Core or sorry, whether that's PS Core or whether that's yeah, regular PowerShell. But anyway, so first thing I think we need to do is jobs. We need to work out, we need to call the REST API service. So what I'm going to do, it's been a while. How do I add a config file? New item. Oh, it's already there. App.config. Perfect. I'm thinking, man, it's been ages since I've done this. I think it's you usually just use the function, you know, the JSON when you're using traditional .NET. It's just so much easier. Anyway, I have to literally go and have a look at this because I haven't done this in ages. So this is a learning experience for me. App.config C#service. Yes, it is possible. I know that. I don't. Is there like good old Microsoft? I think this is WCF though. This is WCF. Okay. It had. Okay, I'm just going to Stack Overflow. App settings. Yeah, no worries, mate. No worries. I'll catch you later. I'll be definitely here when you get back. Alright, so what I'm going to do. This has been so long. Okay, so we're going to need to. I need an example of some configuration file. Da, 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 da. Okay, I'm just going to flick on a little bit of music. Okay. Was it not? Where? Oh my god, I think it's. See something too. Okay. It's been a while since I've done this. REST API client. What's this? That's cool. Why is that not working? I gotta kinda work out why. It has an app.config. It doesn't exist. Why doesn't it exist? Why? This is always fun when documentation. I have to add the reference. God, my bad. Ah, jeez, I feel like a silly Billy. Alrighty, let's keep cracking on. So, I need to open the exe configuration. Okay. Full path include. Is it? Is there a configuration manager? Nope. System configuration, yes. Do I need to add that other reference? It's going to be explicit here. What is in that? Nothing. Not nothing in that constructor. It's not inherent. So it's only use the namespace. You also have the ref. Just gonna have a mess around quickly. System dot. Oh shoot. String, that's fine. I'm gonna put my key name. Alrighty, job handler. Just gonna call it job. Alright, we're gonna need what's it going to return? It's going to return. Okay, I think I need to have a look at system.net.http. Let's have a quick gander at it. Peter, let's roll. Let's roll. Alrighty. I don't want that. I want a custom one. I don't want to send a get. I actually want to. What do we have? We've got delete async. I'm guessing we're going to have a post async, put async. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do here. It's probably a better way to do this, but what I'm going to do. I don't like this, to be honest. I'm always a big fan of actually setting the method rather than having a different method. But there's probably a better way to do this. But get async. Does this have the capacity to actually even specify the body though? That's the second thing. I've got request URI, URI request URI, string request URI, HTTP completion option, cancellation token. I don't think that's going to work because it's actually dependent. I need to send the body. Or do I? Six. There's a bug there. Fix that. No, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this at all. There's got to be a better one. Because I'm just going to have a quick squiz at HTTP system. Hey Glenn. So I figured it out. I needed to add the assembly. I totally forgot about that. C# life. But what I'm kind of humming and hawing at the moment about is if I jump back in. So I've kind of just built my. I'm just kind of nutting out my class structure. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is just have an invoke which is private, an asynchronous method which can be triggered. The problem is HTTP client, that specific class. I'm just going to turn that music down a little bit. Actually, no, it's fairly. Oh, it's really loud on your side. Hang on. Oh, my side. Sorry. Oh, there we go. There we go. That HTTP class doesn't look like it actually does what I want it to do. So, like, whoa, it's gotten really dark. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, I tried to find this light last time and I must have lost it. Where is it? Just gotta find this backlight. Oh, that'll work. No, it's not there. See if this works. Oh, that does absolutely diddly squat. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to turn a light on in here. Okay. So, I was thinking of using just the system.net.http or system.net.http class, but if I just was quickly looking at Microsoft examples, and you have, for example, get async, which is just obviously the method. There's no real other ones, but it doesn't actually have any sort of under the overload. It doesn't really have any sort of ability to send the body, because the body is what we need to have. Well, technically we don't, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, I think there's a better way of doing this since I'm just not sure which class it is. I know that there's within .NET Core there was a way better way of doing it, and I'm just kind of like, I just can't remember what class it was. There was a class in .NET Core which was way better. It was completely asynchronous when you're working with HTTP, but it was just, yeah. I'm just kind of going to Google this. This is not .NET HTTP body. Read string async. Yeah, it's just generally. Passing body content when calling a delete. New HTTP request message. Is that what I needed? Okay, I'm gonna have a quick squiz at this class. Initialize new instances of it, yeah. HTTP method, string, HTTP method URI, yep. Content headed method. Special body. What did they say? Ah, it's content. Ah, I think. Serialized object, UTF-8 encoding, application. I think, yeah, this is the one I'm looking for. Is this .NET 4.6? No, uploading this content regulate. Okay. 2014. I don't think this is 4.6. Alright. .NET 4.6 HTTP class. Alright, so I'm going to use HTTP request message. Alright, let's build it out. Let's build this bad boy up. I also need to make sure it's asynchronous. Not the end of the world if it's not, but HTTP method string. So I can actually just pass it straight. Yeah. Yeah, it's straight through, so I can just go method. Look at that. It's always great when you can actually just pass items straight into it. What do you want about? I think the only reason why I'm just kind of going down the whole async route is because my whole idea is, not task string or whatever, C#. Yeah, I've kind of got to work it out. The only reason why I'm kind of wanting to go down asynchronous, yeah, and I've got to make it async, is because I want to be able to simultaneously execute PowerShell. So if I get if I go query the endpoint and let's say there's 4 jobs, I want it to basically simultaneously download, execute those 4 jobs, and then basically run those 4 jobs asynchronously. So it's not waiting for, there's no processing order, it's just whatever comes gets executed. So that's the only reason why I'm kind of thinking that, like from a performance point of view, yeah, you're kind of trading a bit of performance off, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I think that in terms of performance from an an execution point of view, it's actually way faster. So you kind of So when you can, yeah. So this is known as running as, exactly, this is running on it. This is my client. This is good old client stuff. So yeah, so what I'm thinking, what's it whinging about? Optional parameters must be appear before. Oh, okay. Was it before or was it after? I think it was it before? Yes, we're gonna need an A and a wait. Now we're going to. This is not going to require any headers, so I'm not going to need to worry about that. But ultimately, yeah, you would need to, if you were going to do this, you'd build this up properly. So in this instance, I'm just not. I need to specify content though. So new string content. I'm just kind of going off an example here. What's string content? So string content string. Yep. Okay. What does he ask? Buffer size, content. So the example here says just an object, encoding, and then the type. I think. That's interesting because it's overloaded 3 times and there's only 2 types of overload. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is all made here. So this new string content, blah. So it's so it's serializing it, that's fine. Encoding application, but then if you actually look at the there's only 2 overloads. So that's fine. We'll just see what it does. So string content versus, was it stream content or was it string? Oh, was it really? Oh, good spot, mate. Good spot. My bad. That's a big my bad. This actually reminded me today. I had a colleague, and I did a spot something. I can't remember what I spotted. I think it was an IP address. It was like 10.60.something.something, but sorry, yeah, but the IP address was 10.160, and you just kind of, you didn't even see it. Yeah, it's like I've been burnt like this before. Yeah. Ah, yes. Okay, perfect. So what we can do here is if body is, ternary operators, that's really good to do, but anyway, I'm just gonna kind of, this is really basic C#, so forgive me. So the body's already passing as string. What I'm going to do is I'm going to serialize on the actual pull and push. So it'll do the serialize on that. G'day Shane, how you going, mate? Because if I do the serialize on that, yeah, happy Friday to you, mate. If I do the serialize on that, I could serialize it locally, but I just think, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll just do it that way. Alrighty, anyway, let's keep cracking on. Alright, so I'm gonna do encoding. What's the encoding type? Was that a string? Was it an actual specific type? It's actually an explicit type. I always love that. I always love when it's an explicit type. Oh yeah. Huge gotcha I found with C#. ASP.NET C#, and JavaScript. So when you do string to sorry, I'm literally having a memory blank. So when you basically are encoding a string into base64 with JavaScript, it actually removes the padding on the end. So when you basically, let's say you've got a base64 string and you might need to pad an equals and an additional equals, it won't actually pad it. C#, however, is dependent on that padding. So I had so many issues. I'm like, why is this not working? Like, I had a ASP.NET website taking JSON, also base64 encoded JSON, and it just wasn't working. And I spent ages trying to work it out, and I realized that it was the padding, and it's just that JavaScript doesn't pad, where like it actually is really cool because it'll actually it'll encode and decode quite normally, like without the padding, and it just handles that. Where C#'s explicit and it basically requires that padding. So when I actually had to I actually wrote, it was pretty lazy, but I was kind of like, what I did was I actually had to write try catch and then basically add a padder. So it'll add padding to the end of the JSON for like, I think it was 2 characters, because that's usually the max padding that it can do. And then basically from that, if it still fails, then it will write an error. But it's like, it's just something that kind of little gotcha I found with C#. So anyway, so media type, yes, application.json. I'm not going to even try and spell it, because now my luck, it will be bad. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. Alright, there's gotta be a request. Okay, HTTP request message. What do they call it? Send async. Oh wait, this dot client. Ah, okay. Okay. What's their class? What are they using? Magic is great until it isn't. Ruby's the same. It magically inserts. Yeah, it's 100% true. It's great. But then, like, for example, it doesn't translate languages, so it can get quite annoying. I love, like, this is another thing my biggest rant about Internet Explorer is that when I do string concatenation in Explorer with JavaScript, it doesn't support backtick literals. So I wrote this nice JavaScript, and and it works perfectly on Firefox, works on Chrome, everything. Go to test it on Edge, it works in Edge. And then I basically tested it on IE, and I'm like, why is this not working? And then basically had to do some Googling, and it turns out it doesn't support backtick literals. So if you basically use, and the other thing that drives me nuts is that I was just trying to get over the fact that JavaScript uses backtick to expand variables and strings. Sorry. Yep. But at the same time, it's really good. It's really good. Like, the thing is, there's a lot of good things about JavaScript that I love, and then basically it's just that the browser needs to be able to support it. And then, like, if the browser can't support it, then it's completely useless, because at the end of the day, though, you have to write for your least common browser, or your least used browser, or the least terrible, the most terrible JavaScript browser as an escape char. Oh. Do you guys use AWS? So you're probably familiar with this with AWS is with when you're using the configuration manager. So if you're wanting to like run PowerShell locally using the configuration manager, it actually bundles the PowerShell script into a JSON file. So we had to write a PowerShell script this is like where I previously worked, but we had to write a PowerShell script that would read PowerShell and then basically convert it into a JSON, basically a JSON object, which could then go into AWS. And I remember sitting here because we used it for no, it wasn't for, it was for the automatic patching for Patch Portal. So Yeah, and like trying to deal with that was like the biggest pain I've ever had to do in my life. Like it was kind of funny because if in the last DSC talk, Wayne briefly touched on that component, and I don't know if you heard me complaining in the background, but like that was the biggest gripe I had with it because it literally made the PowerShell so unreadable that you couldn't actually do anything with it. Like if you tried to look at that PowerShell, you would literally wouldn't know. Like the only way that you knew that PowerShell was good was basically your entire pipeline beforehand in basically doing your tests. But the moment it hit production, it's basically like, well, you're assuming it based on the tests. And that's obviously it's great, but at the same time though, I'm like, it would be nice. Like for example, with Azure Automation, you just got a run book you can read. Like doesn't necessarily mean you're going to edit it in line. It just means that even having it there allows you to be able to read it a bit more easier without having a big whopping JSON file. And it like anyway. End of rant. Sorry guys, end of rant. Alright, so I just need to have a quick look at what they're using. So, what's the header? HTTP delete. Where was he? Request, HTTP request message, HTTP method, yes. This.client.send.async. Where's his class? Where's his client? Where's his client? Bar client, get client. Let's get client. End of rant number 1. Yeah, I generally have a lot of rants. My biggest rant is undocumented code. Like that's my biggest rant. There's always a bigger rant. Yes. They should just like rename me instead of PowerShell Michael, like Mr. Rant. I just need to go find where this method is. Delete async. What class is this in? I'm just gonna have to Google it. I think. Ah, okay, it's there. Okay, does it have a send async, does it? Aha, okay, we're in business. We are in business. Okay, so what we can do here. There's actually one really funny story. One of the guys I remember, when I was one of the devs I remember, was many years ago. This was back in the days when I did infrastructure. He put like, for him, and rather than putting to-dos, like you traditionally if you want to follow something up, you just put a to-do. He would actually just write like the most obscene things about code in line, and he would basically force himself to reread all the code and remove all these F-bombs out of the code before he checked it back in, so that was like his insurance policy, that he forced himself to check code because there was F-bombs he put everywhere. This is shit. Who the F wrote this? And I'm thinking, oh man, one time if you make one mistake and you check it back in and that's it, you're done. And he's like, nah, never happens. I'll check every line if I have to. I'm like, man, okay. If you think so. Yeah. Where's that example for HTTP client? I'm just gonna get async. I'm just gonna get async. It's always fun. Where is it? That seems inefficient. Oh yeah, way inefficient. It's just really funny how people have different ways of doing their Why am I reading VB script? That is definitely not. He needed auto mod his code, right, Glenn? G'day, Adelio. See you just lurking in there. Just decided to jump in. Well, yeah, exactly right. You could just do a control find to do. And the thing is, even with VS Code nowadays, it actually highlights it for you automatically, which is even better. Just snuck in for a sec. Can't resist the PowerShell. Actually, no, C# goodness at the moment. Well, it's not really goodness. It's really badness. But I'm literally like trying to work out and as a quick example. Oh my god, it's all in. gonna drive me absolutely bonkers. It's all in. I'm just gonna have to have a look around for it now. Off top warning, imagine auto mod extension for VS Code, just backspaces and wow, yeah. I generally don't swear in my my code, but I definitely do write rants about it to my colleague Alex on Teams. So if there was a Teams Autobot, like yeah, like that would be pretty savage. Like I think honestly, I would probably like, cause there's a Teams I think we use it actually in sync called AdPoint. I swear I'm at the top, eh? Like me and Alex have like the most craziest conversations about things where like how much we hate this piece of code and how this like I'm like, man, I swear I haven't been like, I'm surprised I haven't been dragged into a HR meeting yet. So I'm like trying to keep it as like legit as possible, but I'm like concerned that that's gonna yeah, that's gonna go the other way. So but oh yes, I really actually one of the things I really want to do though is I want to do a I really want to like fork PS Crohn's and where is the .NET one? I literally was looking at it before, unless I was like looking at it on another tab. Oh my god, for some reason I'm literally looking at the MSDN methods and I go, okay, just look at this constructor, and it's in freaking VB. I'm like, who does this to me? Why do you do this to me? Oh my god. Alright, we're just doing this. We're doing this. Alright, so alright, what's in there? There it is. I was looking at the wrong one. Equals new HTTP client. Do I need to specify anything there? I can just default. Try catch it? Should I? I think I should try catch it. Hey Glenn, are you Sydney or UWA? I'm gonna try catch it. .2 hours, so that's 4 o'clock. Nice. Oh yeah, I'm just adding to-dos because I'm too lazy to do it right now. I'm kind of just want to get the basic logic worked out before I kind of step into that part. I kind of want to get like the actual process of capturing the content back. Is this going to return? You can go back and make sure you move the. uh-huh. That's not gonna complain because it needs to be declared before. There's I remember I was looking. I think potato quality Chrissy had a. I was watching on her stream. She actually had a like a to-do list off to the side, which is really quite handy. This is me just being pedantic. I don't know if we can actually read that because it's actually an async thread. HTTP contact does not contain additional string. Yeah, because it's actually using because it's an asynchronous response, so we actually have to. I remember having this issue before. So serialize HTTP content as an asynchronous operation. Local parameter cannot be declared in the scope because including local scope, local or parameter. Alright, you get what you want. Oh really? var body, yeah. String HTTP body. Well, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do it properly. HTTP, keep everything happy. Okay, so body's there, all good. I'm not nice. Alright, I'm gonna try and make some sleep at normal-ish time. Night then. Night, mate. Take care, dude. And make sure you have a good night's sleep, dude. See you, mate. Okay, so I still find it amazing coming from a database background where people only know. Yeah, it's actually something that I one of the things that I'm hoping that I've been invited, so I'm gonna hopefully it plays out. I've been invited to actually sit on the industry panel board for Queensland TAFE. One of the things that I think I'm going to still push to this day, and like I personally, I hate it, like I absolutely hate it, but SQL knowledge, I personally believe is like so important. Understanding SQL, like as just it's like even whether you're just having inner joins, inner joins, outer joins, things like that. Having those skills to be able to run SQL queries, to be able to spin up databases and do those kinds of things, I think like it's just so essential. Like to this day, I learned back in the day. I learned basic SQL in grade 12. Then I went into TAFE, and that's all we did. We did like lots of SQL and database work, and normalization of databases and things like that. And like it's kind of funny now because I can just normalize a database in my sleep, but I haven't had to I still use SQL even in an infrastructure role, and it's just something that I think if I have the opportunity, that's going to be something I'm going to say. You guys keep teaching these students, because coming out of it, I just found it's just something that is so imperative. Like I don't know how you guys were with that, but like for me, it was just something that I really enjoyed. So yeah, TAFE board, yeah, exactly right. Like I hope one of the other things I'm trying to do, one of the things I really want to do is get an MVP in PowerShell. And one of the things I'm really quite passionate about is obviously teaching PowerShell to students, and really empowering that generation of people to actually learn PowerShell, coming off the back of people's reluctance to kind of pick up new technologies and run with it. So having a whole bunch of new the next generation with PowerShell, yeah, obviously it gives them the ability to hit the ground running, especially when there's a lot more Microsoft tech is pretty much built on PowerShell. So that's something that I'm really wanting to do, is actually go in and teach. Like I'm quite happy to do it in my own time, but teach PowerShell. SQL was useful, but now with ORMs, my life of graph databases, no SQL. I think document KV. So yeah, off-topic warning. I think I'm going to jump back on topic. So yeah, but at the end of the day, I think I love PowerShell. I love okay, I got a story to tell you guys. It's a really good story, and I'm thinking about even putting it in a talk. My history of learning scripting. I'm predominantly just pure scripting. When I was in grade 9, my dad, he was a systems engineer for Queensland Police. I'm not saying you're wrong, but please, for the love of all coffee, learn to use ORMs properly. Okay, I will try. I will try. So, oh yeah, I have a massive peeve with bad SQL. I really do as well. Like, some guys write some pretty terrible SQL. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, it's the onus is on the customer. So I'm like, database admin, fix it. It's too slow. Indexes, we don't need to. Indexes, pff, mate, flat file. That's where it's at nowadays. Just just have an Excel document, mate. Like that's where it's at. All right. Well, yeah. But one of the things that I came from a DOS, so my father taught me DOS, and I'm talking DOS 4.2. So I know all the Elasticsearch the crap out of it. Yeah. I know all the all the high mem they had, and I basically learned DOS because it was that was the thing to do, and I basically went through the DOS books, and then it came up to basically my brother basically pointed me to the System32 directory, and I'm a skilled kid, I got nothing else to do, and I basically learned majority of those commands, a lot of those System32 the standard command prompt commands I know what by heart, and all I did was just do that, and basically I got quite proficient in command prompts. And then I wanted something more, so Dad taught me VB Script, and he handed me a huge bunch of help files, and obviously Ed Wilson back in the day with VB Script, and one of the things I wrote was, actually the first one was I wrote a remote execution, not like this, but it was a bit more terrible, similar to VNC, where I could actually issue commands like PS execute, sorry, I could actually issue commands like reboot machines and things like that. And obviously, being a school student at school, this went on every machine that you could possibly install, and then basically from there was pretty much I could own any machine I wanted to. I could send keystrokes, that's a very funny story there as well. But the really good part about that whole thing was that it actually taught me scripting, enough years and years of actually understanding the logic of being able to get from point A to point B. But then basically, like I went from then the next project I wrote was it was actually a user request from a student at the school. They actually wanted to have a chat application which they could talk in between themselves, and then chat to each other about things. And so I wrote it, and then basically I wrote an encryption engine, which was really terrible. Like, I mean, like, it was really bad. Like, it wasn't any sort of standard like AES or anything like that. I just made one up. And then on top of that, then basically I needed to actually like make it fault tolerant. So what I did was I actually wrote like I had these little mini servers basically sitting all around the school, and then basically I wrote an actual another script that all it did was it actually brought all those different those different chat locations together and actually bridge all the connections, so you could actually be talking to a person on another server without them even knowing about it. So it had this, yeah. But yeah, anyway, it was really cool. So, but yeah, see you, mate. See you, Shane. Have a good one, mate. But it was really cool. And then like, so that was pretty much like all I did was, if you finish, enjoy the weekend, PowerShell. No worries. Thanks, mate. You take care, dude. And then after I finished that, I might as well talk in code. Body. What I did then was basically, it's probably gonna whinge about it. Oh, it's gonna need to be a task probably. Yep. Let's whinge about. Then basically I went into I wrote like tons and tons of PowerShell, tons of VB script, like tons of VB script. I wrote some really cool stuff in VB script. Initially I tried to write an aimbot in VB script, which didn't work really well. And then basically when I started in 2012, my colleague Wayne Hoggett, which was the guy that presented at the DSC meetup, he basically gave it. He's the guy that's like, Michael, you're no longer writing PowerShell. Oh, sorry, no longer writing VB script, you're writing PowerShell. And from that day forward, I've never wrote VB script again. And then basically I've wrote PowerShell pretty much everywhere. Like, it's kind of funny though, because like, you just, like, I don't miss it. It's just so much better. I think it caught me on import CSV because I had to, doing a VB script was just like, didn't have that capacity, so you'd actually have to build the old object yourself and you have to read each line and then try and manage it, and it was just such a headache trying to deal with. So yeah, anyway, get new configuration. So that was, yeah, it's kind of funny though, because yeah, I've kind of like back in the day that's how. And then like in the PowerShell, I've just been writing it for yonks now, and then just basically learning as much as I possibly can from it. So get new configuration, public. I'm gonna make it a static. Yeah, task. Anyway, that's enough nattering. I was going to get new. Oh, what would you say? I would say in configuration. Configurations, no. I was going to say, no. It's just a request. Request new job. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually create. No, I'm not. I'm just gonna make this literally static. Request new jobs. Yep. So I'm gonna have to create. Oh no, I'm not. I'm just gonna do this. What's it called? REST handler. actually think I need to update that a bit. So I'm gonna quick look at the import. I think it requires a computer name. I'm just gonna have a quick look. What? Yeah. So how long have you been coding for, Glenn? Because I was kind of thinking, like, I kind of stalked your LinkedIn and your profile, and I was like, yeah, you must have been writing some code for some time now. Just kind of having a look at the URI class. Not United Rentals. It's up at 2.23%. How long have you been writing code for? That's the question, though. Because I've had automation in my title. Well, technically, like it's been for about a year now. Like previously, like I was doing automation, and that was like systems engineer, and then previously I was doing automation and as a systems administrator. Like, so, yeah. But it's kind of funny because I think like we've been writing code. Like I've been writing code since 2012. So, but that's exactly right. You've always been dabbling in code and you're kind of doing things. Basic on. Okay, that's pretty basic, mate. I'm just kind of looking for. That's a get. Just looking for a way if I can append. I'm probably not. Alright. No. That's what I'm gonna do. $1986. Jeez. Makes you very old, yeah. That's very old, mate. That is very old. I'm born in 1990. Put that in comparison. From automation percent to 2000 VB script for SOE automation. Man, VB script, like it was good, But like, oh man, it's just, there's so many things that VBScript just can't do that PowerShell just completely blows it out of the water with. Youngins, no respect. I've got lots of respect. You just keep getting auto-modded because you're too busy saying everything shit. I remember when I came. Oh my god. Oh my god. Actually, there's a really good talk I did. It was like we're talking about my PowerShell shirts, and I remember saying I was like I got my nice, like my big PowerShell Wayo shirt, and then I got my polo, and they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, this is version 2, and then the really nice one's version 3, and they're like, oh, what happened to version 1? I'm like, it wasn't anything. It literally just PowerShell came out, but there wasn't any functionality with it whatsoever. And then like if you really wanted to do something, you have to hack it. And I remember actually one of the places I worked previously, the guy had hacked it to run 4.6, and like, don't get me wrong, it was good, but yeah, PowerShell 1 was like there wasn't anything there. It was literally just the core platform. And what it and where object. That was pretty much it. Anyway, where is machine name to go? Create URI, create REST handler, get URI. We had a guy show me how awesome. Yeah, I remember there was a guy. What was his name? Mark. His name was Mark. I can't remember his last name. Interesting enough, I remember there was a guy called that damn Toonly, and I actually stalked him up the other day, and he's an MVP now. I was like, oh, yeah, wscript.network, yep, or FSO, or if you wanted to do any sort of kind of like, any sort of crazy changes, you had to basically use the WMI. It was pretty much it. So if you wanted to crack directory users, and oh, don't get me started on LDAP. Oh man, it was actually funny. There was a script I wrote back in 2012 where we had to generate email signatures, and it would go through. It would use an LDAP query to query Active Directory, and then basically enumerate all the email aliases out of the proxy addresses attribute, and create email signatures and put them on the user profile, and you could push it remotely. It was really good. And I remember I had a chat with the I left, and then it was a couple of years later. I remember having a chat with, I was having drinks with one of the guys who was leaving that business, so I came along and had a few drinks, and I was chatting to the IT manager. He's like, man, that program is amazing. And I'm like, and I said to him straight out, this is PS3's been out for about a year now, and it still identifies IT ops working code. Mate, well, if you write code, you're DevOps. That's pretty much that. If you write code and your infrastructure, you're DevOps. You write code. Yeah, anyway, I had I think I was like, it was like, what time is it? 5:52. Yeah, I'm gonna need to go. Yep. But it was like he's like, oh, this is so good, and I'm just like, mate, I can write this in 2 lines now within PowerShell, and that's just because of the it's just like, okay, admittedly it wouldn't be 2 lines, maybe like 3 or 4 lines, but basically all you've got to do is just generate a template file, have that template file, import the template file, go to Exchange, basically get email attributes for your mailbox for each. That's pretty much it. It's pretty basic. Anyway. What the hell is this music doing? It's like fading in and out. Just gonna play something else. Call the REST handler. Oh, I just basically got SoundCloud royalty for free music, so I don't get stuffed up with Google or with YouTube's copyright. I think is there like I'm just gonna see if I can find some chill out.
This is a preview file.
Okay, not that one. Okay, see how we go with that. That's a bit better. Alright. So, I'm thinking... call the REST handler. Get cap the response. I'm going to serialize the response. Alrighty, off to Newton Softville. When I'm playing like games like Rocket League or something like that, I generally actually like, to prevent me from getting really annoyed, I generally actually just listen to like meditation music, and generally actually I perform way better. Like, I'm just like at peace. They might have scored that goal, but we can still come back. That's alright. We can always come back and win. Off topic, I'm working on a blog post about IT pros and being labeled as developer. Well, I think that's like the two roles are merging now. So, like, especially within the whole DevOps kind of community, like, for example, automation, like, well, that's where my kind of bread and butter is that, like, we get asked to automate everything. I mean, like, basically automatic patching, self-service portals, things like that. But I actually think that, like, technically, we obviously have to apply development principles. So there's no, so there's that, like, it's just, like, yeah, I think, like, from some IT program, I think that's completely false. Yeah, I think, like, if you write code and it's been deployed into production, you have, you technically are doing some sort of development. Like, and if you have to support it, again, you're doing some sort of development. If you're actually participating in the pipeline deployment process, things like that, again, you're gonna have to support it. So you're a developer, so yeah. Anyway, let's turn that down for you guys so it's not too loud. Stream response. What's whinging about? Did I add Newtonsoft? I think I did. That's really loud. Good old Newtonsoft. Was this one of the things that like, it kind of, let's say it irritates me a bit, but it kind of jonks me up a bit with, well, at the end of the day though, some people, you know, if they don't want to do this kind of stuff, then it is what it is. But there's some other people that basically, you know, yeah, if they like, if you want to, you know, do help desk or, you know, engineering, like, you know, servers, specifically servers, well then, yeah, you're not developer. But I've like, back in 2012 when we're writing, like me and my colleague Wayne were writing JSON convert, when we were writing tons and tons of PowerShell to automate everything, and I mean we were automating everything. We built a self-service portal that did so much. Yeah, we were like, it really, JSON convert, that's what I'm looking for. Just to serialize the object. It just, yeah, kind of drives me a little bit bonkers. What's a winching about a wait operator? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna need to put a wait on there. Cannot convert void to string. Oh shoot. Cannot convert. To be honest with the pervasiveness of PowerShell now, you're a developer with these things. I was a developer and just stop golden images. Okay, that's impressive. That's really impressive. But now I'm getting all ranty. Totally understand, mate. I totally understand. I think the biggest thing is, it's actually funny, I found was that I remember like where I previously worked was Mercy Community Services. We built, like, basically we built a Citrix VDI environment that basically had everything built properly from the ground up. We had Active Directory role-based access. We had, like, and I mean, we used file server-based access. We used role group-based access. First public talk is exactly desktops, DevOps, and odd socks. Nice, nice. Yeah, and like, and then the thing was is that we basically had like, so I'm just kind of gonna get this. So invoke. You're right. And the thing was is that we pretty much. It's gonna have issues converting it. Like, what's it? I can't remember. Is it get a waiter? Oh, we're pausing. Why is it pausing? Odd sucks. Okay, it's back. Just gotta get the. Yeah, and like we. Actually, totally forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, we automated everything, and then basically, like, I'm talking, we had basically a self-service portal where staff went to, and if they wanted to create a new user, they would just select the user, select where they were, you know, the role group that they were supposed to drop into. Access was already sorted out because it was role-based access, all good. Start this next place, and it was just like they were copying Active Directory users, and they were doing all this stuff, and I'm like, we need to automate all this now, like you, and then and it was. And there was an argument that was put forward that basically the concern was that they didn't want to, like, they were kind of making the help desk department jobs irrelevant because that they would lose their job because they're no longer leading it. I'm like, well, hang on a second, put your shoe on the other foot, improve, you know, accuracy, improve reliability, and then they have the opportunity to go train up on something else. The point was that desktop management and DevOps, while appear to be old socks and very different looking, but off the surface they're similar, complementary. Yeah, once you go automate, you don't look back. Yep. Service portal things, but it makes 100%. Like, it makes so much sense. Like Wayne, we built the service portal. It was built out of it was like ASP.NET, and it was using orchestrated runbooks. That was it. Nowadays, basically, you could actually use Azure Automation, or Azure Functions to do your executions. Yeah, like the automations here. Like if you're not automating, then you kind of it's just the money can go somewhere else. I might as well put it in my pocket. Like, put it that way. Like, anyway. I'm just gonna get async. Get string. Dot resolve. Can only be used within an async method. Okay. Oh, it's because it's not an async. Oh, that's fine. But if you're going to NDC, Glenn, I'll definitely catch up, mate. Like, I'll be keen for having a beer with you. I just hope I get to actually do a talk as well. Yeah, you order me out of a job as fallacy. That's exactly right, mate. That's exactly right. If I get that, yeah, 100%, man. Like, the thing is that, like, it's just... That's the biggest rant, one of the biggest rants I have, is people basically losing their jobs. And I'm like, well, there was a story about these guys going on strike about, you know, losing their jobs to robots. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. You heard about this 4 months in it, like, no, sorry, it was a year in advance. And all you did was you chose to fight it. Management made up their decision. They're not moving on this. So you could be those guys that all they do is press yes or Y on the keyboard like Homer did when he worked from home. Or you could go out, respec, reskill, and go basically do something else. Like, and it's something that just absolutely drives me bonkers, because like it literally it just drives me bonkers, because at the end of the day, though, people are naturally resistant to change. Wayne actually put this perfectly. Wayne colleague Wayne, he basically said, if you work in IT, and realistically, this should actually be in any industry. There's no such thing as you can't be a professional in your industry without being a professional learner. And being a professional learner basically requires you to actually learn things. It requires you to do out of office study. It requires you to further your career that way. Because if you don't, you basically then silo yourself, and then you get stuck in this position. And it's basically having that discipline and having that ability, so that when something does change, you can lift and shift really quickly, or you can recognize it and then lift and shift. So anyway. So the response... I have no idea what the hell this is. And also, if you're not learning, your job seems stagnant. Alright, I may have grateful to see you guys saying. Make sure you put that token for the DevOps days. Yeah, 100%, man. I'll give that a go. All right, see you, mate. Take care, dude. So my next part will be serialized response. I'm actually going to build a schema for. Yes, it should be fine. Like that. Let's kind of do this so I can kind of work out what I need. So how long have you been writing code for, Shane? Mainly PowerShell. Ah, nice. Yep. Strictly TSSQL. Mate, you should come work for me. We actually need a, we're actually looking for a guy, some PowerShell SQL. But it's like, yeah, there's a lot of really cool opportunities we've got lined up. But the thing is, it's actually really funny because we work predominantly with Microsoft Identity Manager. And like we're like at InSync, we're really picky about who comes and works for us. So like, if you like, we have what we call a no dickheads policy. First time I was showing PowerShell with PSC, I was like, nah, that'll never catch. Well, that's the same thing I thought about with Python. I thought, like, I learned Python back in the day, and I thought, mate, this is absolute trash. Who's going to want to use this? And sure enough, people are using it. But like, yeah, we have this no dickheads policy and things like that. And basically, it's actually a pretty decent place to work. I actually really enjoy it. My boss, which is my team leader, which is Nathan, and he's like the actual, let's say, he's the owner of the business. Solid guy, and it's actually funny because my dad worked with him, and when I had my initial interview with him, and then I kind of stalked his LinkedIn profile, and I saw he worked where my dad previously worked, and I asked my dad about it. He's like, "That's a top bloke," and I'm like, "Sweet, well, there's my answer." And he's like, "As a boss, it's just fantastic. It's actually really, yeah, it's really good." We actually have LAN parties and things like that as well. We've got a LAN party coming up soon, which I'm looking forward to, and it's going to be Doom. Obviously Doom 95 over TCP/IP. We can't use that IPX anymore. It's gonna be Doom. Work anywhere around the world, mate. That's part of the MWA. Oh man, yeah, we do LAN parties, mate. We have a LAN party where like yeah, it's Doom. We're gonna do Quake 2. For those who've got RTX, we'll be Quake RTXing. And I think yeah, last time we played CS, which was yeah, just beers and like CS and like yeah, which was really fun. I think we're gonna do it again. Like I'm really pumped for it because like CS is always just yeah, everyone has a good time and there's always some guy that's getting pissed off at me because I'm just being a complete and utter tool. Like guys, alright, follow me, and I just throw a flashbang at the wall when I run by and then just explodes by them and then they're like, who the hell threw a flashbang? Or my favorite is when defusing the bomb and I'll be like, oh whoops, my finger slipped, and it's like, you know, right, Michael, why would you do that? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Okay. Anyway, serialize this one. I'm gonna actually do a try catch here. because I'm not 100% sure that it will serialize. Whoops. There's the PS coming out, mate. Whoops. Database logins. Oh, nice. Nice. What kind of game is it? I have to cater for errors. I'm going to educational puzzle game. Ooh. Sorry for one sec, I just kind of need to focus here. Yeah, in education. Oh, it's kind of stop. Just gonna do that. So, education puzzle, is it like for like learning and like learning and like for students, high school? Like, what was the demographic? iPhone. It just converts it straight to. Um. So it's going to request new jobs. If it doesn't get anything back, it'll return null. It's going to serialize it, and it's going to serialize it back as this type. So it's not even going to be type string. It's going to be that. And then I can respond back. Alright. Serialize the response. What's it whinging about? Okay, can't convert it. That's fine. Just do that, and all is good with the world. So that's the caller. I'm just going to step one more time back in my class. And then I might call it a night. I decided I'd go with SQL Server because it comes with a C# compiler. Yeah. Like, system.net. This is actually, this is something that I kind of, gets me a little annoyed. It really depends on the person. But there's some people that basically, like, I remember I actually had an interview a while back where some guy was like, oh, so do you use the SQL module? And I'm like, I asked him, he said to invoke an SQL query. He asked me a specific question about a parameter, and I said no. He's like, why not? And I said, because system.net.sql. I think it's system.net.sql. Now I can't remember exactly what the your system.data.sql client is native to .NET. I was like, well, why should I have to import the module when it literally takes, a couple of lines to actually build the configuration out and then execute it. Like, I don't need to. Like, and this is where I was kind of like, again, I'm having a bit of a rant, but like, this is kind of where I was sitting there going, like, I remember this was an interview, and I just kind of just sat there and going, I don't particularly really want to work for these guys because I don't particularly want to be bloating my entire scripts up with modules to the cows come home, where, something like a simple SQL query can be done with, system.SQL client. Like, that's what I wrote here to invoke SQL. Now, don't get me wrong, for example, DBA tools, like, that is really good. Like, there's a lot. If I was doing things that I needed to do, like backup databases and do things like that, so it's not just running TSSQL, 100% I would use that hands down, because there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel. There's commands that are specifically written for that. But if I'm trying to run a simple select or something like that, I feel like it defeats the purpose. But at the same time, though, you can do an import module and specify the actual the commandlet name that you want to import. So, like, you can get the thing there, but it's just that I don't particularly want to have a massive module bloating up, my entire build. Well, then, yeah, like you said, you basically can just use, system.data.sql client. So, anyway, end of rant. But I just remember this guy. He was just like, he was like, it was the thing that kind of really irked me was his attitude towards. He's like, why? Like, he was like, just so adamant that you had to use a module for everything. Yeah, we talked about that. We created an issue. But that's the, like, you do not add modules unless they're explicitly needed. So, like, though admittedly, the shoe goes on the other foot. I've had to write a script, which should just use the Active Directory PowerShell module to provision 80 users and, set groups and things like that. And they didn't want to, for security reasons, do that. So basically, I had to rewrite it using ASCII. Oh, sorry, no, wasn't ANSI? It was using, basically it was this LDAP in PowerShell, and I'm just like, that script literally, I just wanted, like, I did not want to release, because at the end of the day, though, it's not something I'm comfortable with. And I remember, like, the argument was because it was a security risk. I'm like, mate, well, at the end of the day, though, this is a security risk right here. I can query Active Directory. Well, they just don't know how to do it. I'm like, it doesn't take that much Googling to figure it out. Like, but that's a perfect candidate for a module where a module wasn't used, because at the end of the day, though, you're managing, you're setting passwords, you're creating accounts, you're setting group membership. All those kinds of things are really dependent on a module. But if you're like, yeah, I should submit a talk about that. Maybe it'll just be a 1 hour. It'll just be a 1 hour talk of me ranting about it. So I don't think it'll be a good thing. Anyway, so I think I've got my schema API. Okay, so the final one we're going to do is the job. Let's use this right here. So public job. Right, so first thing it's going to do is absolutely nothing. It's actually going to I 100% agree, Shane. 100% agree. I think basically people get a little bit too you know, over the top with import module. But then like, yeah, the second biggest thing I have is people using snap-ins. Snap-ins are PS1. Like, we should not be using snap-ins anymore. I remember there's a snap-in I remember using for Microsoft Identity Manager, and like I just crack the shits every time when I look at it, because they can do half the work. There's a module that was written called LiftNet for Microsoft Identity Manager, and it is good. Like, it's really good. And yeah, it just drives me absolutely bonkers. It literally because basically you can write in like LiftNet in 2 seconds. Literally, it's done. Like, it's simple to use. It's really easy to understand. Like, I write massive scripts using LiftNet, and like to do it with the snap-in is just, yeah, I hate snap-ins. That never use snap-ins. Snap-ins are now gone. So yeah, it's like, let's say, it's actually something they always say, you know, always never use system, or, you know, add actually custom assemblies, but you should always use add type. But it's something that I found that add type doesn't particularly work sometimes, and you actually force to add reference assemblies the old-fashioned way. I think one of them was for Internet Explorer system of forms. I had to actually build a form for OAuth 2 auth code capture. Yeah, anyway. So capture the job. By all means, ranting as long as okay. I think the biggest gripe I have at the end of the day is documentation. Undocumented code for me, like, if you want to push my button, that's the way to do it. And like, I mean, like, obfuscate it, like, to like literally like no indentation, no spacing, no meaning names. Everything's A and Z and var this, and it just no type identification. And you wanna ruffle my feathers, that's one way to do it. That's a surefire way to that's a surefire way to get a 1 hour rant on why not to. So anyway, I'm now going to can't spell asynchronously. I'm just going to call it async. I'm going to probably have to wrap it up soon, so I'm going to quickly save it. Turn this down a bit so you go. If it wasn't up for me, I would convert all my MongoDB is JavaScript thing. MongoDB is good. There's a really good story about, I think it was Mongo? Yeah, I think it was Mongo. There was an EA game that was released, I think it was Sims. It was a Sims game online. They were running it on EC, in AWS on SQL instances, on MS SQL instances. And what happened was they had they were having huge performance issues and massive downtime. And basically, they were continually upgrading it because due to the uptake of the game. They were continually upgrading it to the more recent, newer instances of. Also, they were adding more capacity to the database and resources. And it basically got to a point where they were running at max instances or max resources, and they basically took it down over a weekend, rewrote the entire backend to use Mongo, brought it back up, and they saved like, I think it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just by rewriting it, like to use Mongo. So it's something that, like, at the end of the day though, like from an architecture point, if you're building like a game or something and you like it, if it's anything like a Flappy Bird and it like explodes up and obviously people want to sign up and that kind of thing, you kind of do have to have the ability to scale. But at the same time though, like most of the time, yeah, you can get away with like you can get a 5DTU instance. Like I remember running some production code on 5DTU instances in Azure. Like it's pretty basic, but it's plenty for what they need. So yeah. Anyway, I think I've actually gone 15 half an hour over. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to have to negotiate that one with my wife because she's not going to be impressed with me. But thanks guys for watching. Really appreciate it. If you guys liked it, please subscribe. It definitely means a lot. I'm trying to go for a Twitch affiliate. Um, and I think I'm like a couple of. Hang on, let me have a quick look. How many people I need? I think I've got like a couple more people to go. To get Twitch affiliate. How many people I need to have follow? Hang on, let me just quickly check. I think I need 50 and create dashboard achievements. And I think I'm at 48. So yeah, if you guys liked it, follow and subscribe. It's really good. It's really important for me. Yeah, and definitely hopefully see you guys next time. I'm generally streaming Friday nights and on Wednesdays, which is PowerShell 101 with Michael and Christian. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Like this work is just following up from that. My next project I am going to be working on is rewriting my PowerShell C# aimbot for Battlefield 5. So it's going to be offline. I'm not going to do anything to violate TNM's terms and conditions for Twitch, but it's going to be all in preparation for the if the talk gets accepted for the NDC or the dev um, the DevOps days content. So, oh, sorry for talk. So that's my next, probably my little project off to the side there, and I'm hoping you guys stick around for it. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a lot of fun, and I hope to see you guys next time. But anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys next time. Anyway, bye for now.